Bill Senecio from Master's Corner. Nice to meet you. Actually, I was just wondering, you've done some amazing work with Mike Judge, both voice work on things like King of the Hill, The Good Family, and then also Office Space and live action too. How did you first meet him, and how did that process begin? That you began that relationship with him?
Well, I did an audition for Office Space, and I went in right after Owen Wilson. And I remember him walking out, and I was like, oh, that's the guy from Bottle Rocket. Then I walked in, and I started doing it, and I hadn't really nailed what I was going to do with the character yet. When I was rehearsing him outside of the building, because you don't get much time with sides in Hollywood. That's one thing that people don't really get, is that the development process in a television show can take 9 months, a movie can take 5 years to be greenlit, but the actor is given between an hour and 2 hours to come up with a character. So I was doing Lawrence as kind of like this stoner hippie dude before I walked in and saw Owen Wilson walk out of the door. Because I was like, oh, I was doing Owen Wilson. I better come up with another character by the time I walk in. So Lawrence was this guy who repaired our air conditioner in Virginia. And I just had this flash of this guy, and also of the Allman Brothers and Sisters album. On the inside, when you open it up and they're all standing around that porch, I was like, I want a guy that would belong there. Anyway, he laughed through the whole audition, giggling and laughing, and there was a part of me that was really happy, and there was another part that was like, shh, because now this is over my audition. Yeah, I actually based the whole character, besides that one moment on this. You said, what are you doing down, now? And I'm doing that drywall down in Salinas. And Mike Judge came him up after a couple takes, and he goes, you've been saying doing twice every time. And I go, oh yeah, because he's the guy that would say the doing. And in the script it said doing twice. I was like, well, it's right here. And he goes, what? And he goes, and takes a look at the script and goes, oh, that's a typo. So just say doing once. But yeah, then he was very nice and hired me a bunch of times. I've hung out with him socially. He's an extremely nice guy, really down to earth. I love his new show. I think it's very funny and very distinctive, and it's really cool. My wife and I really like it. It's I think a laugh out loud type comedy, and I don't know. I'm a big fan. I mean, when I walked on the set of Ron's apartment, and it was so generic, to be the Oakwood Apartments in Los Angeles. It's or maybe that's more of a corporate chain than I know, but it's as anonymous as it can possibly get. I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Then when I'm going rattling on and on, but then when I couldn't make the screening of the movie because I was shooting the Drew Carey show that night, and they did it on Tuesday night for some reason. And so I couldn't make it, and so I went opening weekend with my wife, and there was literally no one in the theater. And it was one of the lowest points in my career, sitting there and realizing that this movie that I loved was a bomb. And I didn't see the movie for 10 years because that moment was so, because I thought, I don't know what I'm doing in Hollywood, because this is the only movie I've ever done that I like, and nobody likes it. And I thought, what am I doing here? I should go do something else. Seriously. I had that moment. I was like, well, I'm obligated to do the Drew Carey show now. And I did enjoy doing it, but I was like, I'm leaving Hollywood. Because I don't get it. I just don't get people's taste, obviously. And then it started building, and I remember my wife and I were driving downtown, and these two guys in tats and a really cool pickup truck pulled up next to us, and they nudged each other or whatever, and they're like, this is 3 years after the movie. And they're like, hey, what'd you do with $1 million? And I was like, what? And they go, "What'd you do?" I was like, "Oh, 2 chicks at the same time, man." And they're like, "Yo, all right." And then it just started taking up its own steam. And then, but I didn't see it. It was on Comedy Central almost constantly. I never watched it, or on cable or whatever. It paid for the roof of my house. It was great residuals on that thing. But then they did a 10th anniversary screening in Austin where we shot it, and sold out in like 4 minutes or something. It was like going to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Everybody knew every line, and there was just waves of laughter crashing into the screen and bouncing back. And I was like, I felt like standing up and going, "I told you so!" I told you the fucker was funny! So that was the second time I saw it. Anyway, that's a long story. I had a lot of coffee.
Here in the corner.
Out of all the roles that you've done, I'm Anthony from IamThink.com.
Okay.
Out of all the roles that you've done, what has been your favorite role, and
Batman.
what do you think? All right, what do you think has been
No,
your
it's
best
full
role?
stop, no pause. Batman was the best part ever. I was happiest doing Batman. I loved Batman. It was fascinating getting the process because I didn't really know Batman that well when I got him, and I had this great acting teacher named Yuri Belov at the North Carolina School of the Arts. He was really my mentor, and he talked about crossing over when you start thinking as the character and not as yourself. And it's a beautiful moment when that actually happens. You should never force it. You should try to think like he does, but then it just comes up. And Oswald was like that. He was like putting on a dumb, sweet coat. He was just a lovely guy, and it would just wash over me like this sweet boy. And I realized I crossed over with Batman when we did the episode where he confronts his the killer of his parents in the hospital room. And it's a voiceover session, as you saw with Rob and Mo. It's like these guys are hilarious, and they're always improvising, and if there's a pause in the time when the director has to talk to the executive producer, blah, 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 they're on the other side of the glass. So you got these guys who are just like wind-up toys for comedy and voices, and they try to make each other laugh, and it's really fun to have, the whole people doing this, and, that's lovely. And evidently everybody's doing British accents. But during the session, so we're doing it, and the scene when he confronts the killer, I'm crying. I'm literally like tears pouring down my face because this meant so much to little Bruce that he's able to confront. I'm going to talk about a backstory. It's the greatest backstory that you could possibly ask for. It's just the greatest. And I loved being able to set the tone of a recording session, and having it be professional but fun and relaxed and easy. And there were a couple of people that called me like the Perry Como of the voiceover artist, because I was like, I sit, got my hat, got my little coffee, I'm very relaxed, where lots of guys are, up and very high energy. But yeah, I mean, Batman was probably was definitely my favorite part.
Behind you.
Oh, sorry.
Nick Ganzel with GeekVision.tv.
Yeah.
You are a great comedic talent who has appeared in both Meet the Spartans and Vampire Suck.
Yes.
Leads me to wonder, what sort of blackmail do Friedberg and Seltzer have?
I'll just say they're tender lovers. And they're the type of guy, when you're in the tub, they'll sit on this part with the spigot right in their back, and I appreciate that. No, they're super nice. They run probably the most fun set that you can ask for, and they're just really, really nice guys. I mean, I have been asked a number of times why I've done so many of them. There's a lot of my agent asked me that a lot. But they're just really fun. They're really genuinely nice guys, and there's a part of me that's still 12 years old and loves because I keep saying, this is the last time, I'm not going to do it, and then I read the script and I'm like, and they get me, and I don't know, we do one take as is, and then I get to do what I want. I don't know if you saw Vampire Suck, but there's a scene where he sits with his daughter and has a thing where he talks about the guy and the jeans and everything, and that was completely made up on the spot, and you can almost hear Jason and Aaron laughing off screen, and then that was just like the throwaway, the fuck it take, and they ended up being in the movie, and also that blow up doll that I'm looking over and I'm doing the voice and I go, I love you. She really does. That I just did to make the crew laugh, and they left it in the movie. I mean, it's really creepy when you see it, because my eye is like looking over her shoulder when I do it. It looks really weird. It looks twice as weird as I thought it would. And it's already pretty weird. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool.
Way in the back.
Tracker and BW Media Spotlight. I was wondering if you, I know you would voice the video game, but I wondered if you would play the game or if you'd read into the tiny comics or produced program at all.
This will probably get me killed later today, but I don't play video games. I don't. Yeah, I know, it's intense. My son is, it's just like he's shocked, and I have friends that will like play it and go, come on, play, and I'm like, I don't even know how to roll. I don't know. I have watched my son do it, and so that was kind of fun to watch. Yeah, you know, it looks good, and it was fun doing it, and my son seems to really enjoy it. And it's cool. It was cool to do Batman again and to have everybody in and do all of that. And the plot was pretty good. But boy, is doing a video game a lot of work. It's because you have like this splintering of reality where you have to play a scene with all of the different ways that it could possibly go. And as a kind of intellectual and acting exercise, it's interesting for, let's say, the first 45 minutes. And then you're like, oh, gee, I'm still here. Because, you know, we do Batman as a radio play, so it's like, you're done after a pretty short period of time. But a video game is like endless. Because it could go this way, or it could go that way, and then he'll feel this way or that way, and then blah, blah, blah. Does that answer your question?
Well, I also want to know about the tie-in comics that DC put out for the show.
Oh, yeah, the tie-in comics is super cool. Well, we had nothing to do with James Tucker wrote the first, drew the first cover of the first one. And he gave me one of those and signed it. And for my son, it was like a total comic book. Like, he was like, ah, you know. He also got the first action figure, you know. And it was, he loves these cons. He's totally into it. He went as like Moon Knight one year and Roy Chagul and a bunch of, he reads the encyclopedias of Marvel and DC, and he just loves this whole world. It's one of the reasons I like to stay in it, so something to talk about with him.
This will be the last one right here in front.
Gareth at GarethSmile.com. What was it like to work with Maxwell Adams on the Doom Adventures, Billy and Mandy?
Maxwell Adams. Wait a second, I'm spacing out. Who's that?
The guy who created Billy and Mandy.
Oh, right. Sorry. Oh, you know, really great. He's a sweet, lovely guy. And Richard is great, and Gray Delisle, and I mean, you know, that was a fun show. He had seen The Searcher, I think, and so wanted me to do something similar to that. I think it was remarkably similar to that. I don't think I worked very hard on it, but yeah. You know, the great thing about the world of animation is, in the main, I would say like 99%, it's not an exact percentage, but of the people that you meet are really super nice. In stark contrast to the on-camera world, where most people are pretty awful. And, you know, it's talent-based. I mean, you see Rob and Mo up here, and they're just so talented. It's remarkable to be in a room with a bunch of voiceover artists, because they just blow you away that they can do this. And a lot of times, people that are on camera are not that good. And you wonder how did that happen? You know? And it just, it's confounding. I think that's the number one thing that I hear from other on-camera actors that do voiceovers, is that they get in and they go, oh my God, these people, it's like they can play all these different characters and do whatever. I'm like, yeah, they're talented. Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Well, Thanks for stopping by.
Sure, my pleasure. I went in right after Owen Wilson, and I remember him walking out, and I was like, "Oh, that's the guy from Bottle Rocket." Then I walked in, and I started doing it, and I hadn't really nailed what I was going to do with the character yet. When I was rehearsing him outside of the building, because you don't get much time with side.
Bill Sines here from Pastor's Corner. Nice to meet you. Actually, I was just wondering, you've done some amazing work with Mike Judge, both voice work on things like King of the Hill, The Good Family, and then also Office Space and live action too. How did you first meet him, and how did that process begin? You began that relationship with him.
Well, I did an audition for Office Space, and the door, because I was like, oh, I was doing Owen Wilson. I better come up with another character by the time I walk in. So Lawrence was this guy who repaired our air conditioner in Virginia. And I just had this flash of this guy, and also of the Allman Brothers and Sisters album on the inside when you open it up and they're all standing around that porch. I was like, I want a guy that would belong there. Anyway, he laughed through the whole audition, giggling and laughing, and there was a part of me that was really happy, and there was another part that was like, shh, because now this is over my audition. That's in Hollywood. That's one thing that people don't really get, is that the development process in a television show can take 9 months. A movie can take 5 years to be greenlit, but the actor is given between an hour and 2 hours to come up with a character. So I was doing Lawrence as kind of like this stoner hippie dude before I walked in and saw Owen Wilson walk out